Welcome to another room review. Come in. Right, so what we have here is a really interesting room. So we'll start from scratch, ultimately. So from the initial design brief of this room, the gentleman wanted a cinema and wanted a real cinema, and came in with a lower budget than where we finished off, obviously. And as we evolved in the conversations and became, he experienced our demo room, and the project grew and grew and grew in probably 2 or 3 stages. And by the end of it was 4 times the size of where it started. But why this room's interesting and the challenges we had is it's quite small. This is 4 meters by 4.5, and it's quite a small room. I think it's 3.8 wide actually. And then in the plans we found out that the room had been changed. There was something with the plans in the builder, and the room ended up being 3.5 or something in real life when it was built and we got here. So that became even more challenging. And those challenges basically are the ones that we have problems with in relation to seating, getting the numbers of chairs in, getting a riser in, getting the speaker count in. How do we get those speakers? What height are those speakers at? How do we position essentially the sweet spot in the room and try and get everyone to experience the same sound? So what we ended up having to do was, the only way really to do that is going to a processor and using a product like a Trinnov. Because ultimately we knew there was going to be a few compromises, and the only way you can really deal with those compromises is using a product that will help us when it came to essentially the room equalization and the calibration and the control that we have over that to help with things that aren't essentially ideal. So this room's interesting because with the acoustic panels, again, these are all HT acoustic panels. The front ones, as you can see, hopefully, there's a wedge on it and an angle, so it's not a completely flat acoustic panel. Reason being is because the room ended up being so narrow that we had to tow these front speakers in. Some people may go, well, why did you even put front speakers in? Again, part of the brief and part of the experience was we wanted the best experience. What we actually have is every panel in this room is essentially have a speaker in it. So we have a front speaker, which is here. Okay. We have a middle row speaker, which does the middle row. And then the back row has a speaker in the panel as well. Now, again, the challenge here is making sure those speakers weren't too close, making sure they were at the right heights off the ground, and dealing with the fact that the rear row seating, now going from 4 meters to 3.5, is very, very tight. So we've had to lift those speakers up a little bit, because as you can see, the people in the back row are sitting hard up against the back wall. There's nothing wrong with all this, because no room is perfect. It is just about getting the brief right, and why the importance of a room design is important. And I stress that it's important, because you can't just buy boxes and whack them in here, because this would have never have worked. So yes, there are a lot of speakers in here. So we have front 3 speakers, which are behind, again, another acoustically transparent woven screen. It is a 130-inch 235 screen. Okay. And that is a Severson screen. We do like using the Severson because we're a big fan of the fabric. At the moment, as you can see, it's got the beautiful kaleidoscope running on there, which is essentially a jukebox ecosystem of movies that you download off a server, and it has beautiful artwork and ultimately gets some really cool early releases. And moving forward with the way the movie industry is changing due to COVID, this is going to be a really cool piece of kit. So again, front 3 are the Priscilla P8s. The sides, we have Priscilla P5Vs, okay, and again, there's one in every panel. The rear of the cinema is another 2 acoustic panels. We opted for a bit of a colour change, so it wasn't all the one colour, because again, it's a small space. So there's 2 P5Vs in those back panels as well. There's some diffusion in the room, okay, as you can see over there at the back of the room. And with Atmos, this one was interesting. So in this space, we opted doing 4 Atmos, and then we grabbed another 2 and went, why don't we play with Aura 3D? We're talking a voice of God, which is right in the middle of the room. I'm not sure if the cameraman can get that, but one directly above you and one directly above you above the screen. Okay, and again, it's a really interesting way of doing it, because ultimately we can mix match with the Trinnov. We can essentially map the way that we want that sound to play out. So it's a very different way of doing it, but we were limited on the space, and we thought, you know what, why don't we try something a bit different? And it turned out really, really well. With the projector at the back of the room, there actually isn't one. That's the funny thing about it. So the projector is actually in the room behind. So again, we wanted a big screen. We didn't have the throw distance, so we had to punch a hole in the wall, go into the wardrobe. The partner lost a couple rows of bags for the wardrobe, but that's okay. Alright guys, so just to show you the projector, it is tucked away in the room behind the cinema. It's worked out really, really well, and there's plenty of space. We've put the window in, and it fits nice and snug, so it's worked out really, really well. We've got an X12000H in there with a anamorphic lens, which allows us to grab all that extra light, all those extra pixels that we've lost by zooming out, back on the picture, and that's why we've got such a brilliant and bright coloured image. And we'll shoot some content in a second. The subs in here are really interesting with this screen. Don't know if you can see due to the darkness of the room and everything. There is no cabinet, there is no nothing. The screen is floating. Okay, the equipment for all this space is up there. So it's in the roof space. So because again, we had challenges. The room's small, and we wanted to make the room feel big, and we didn't want to build a wall in and block it all in. So we've essentially just got subs, and that's it in the room. The subwoofers are Priscilla P15s for all three corners. And in the one corner, we've got the Priscilla 18, which is a dual sub, big beast. Let's see if I can take that off. There's two of those bad boys in that corner. So, again, experimenting with something very different, which a lot of people do like. So again, P15 in one corner, P15 in the other corners. And the reason we put P15s is you look at the width of them, they are like 120 to 115 mil thick and perform really well, but they are slim, they get right in there. We don't have a lot of space. And as you well know, we're not huge fans of having seats hard up against the back wall. But again, having the Trinnov, doing the room design right, increasing the height of the speakers, it's allowed us to kind of benefit from that. All the equipment's upstairs in the loft. So you've got to get up a little ladder, climb upstairs, and it shares the loft area with all the rest of the equipment and all the automation around the house. And it has its own gym nearby, and it also has the rack of all the equipment. So we'll go through that now and have a look through. As you can see, starting from the top, we have got an Apple TV, 4K Apple TV. There is the Control 4 system, which obviously runs everything in this room and the lighting. There's the Kaleidoscope, which is the 6TB Kaleidoscope. There's an AV Pro switcher in there as well, matrix switcher. We have got a Panasonic UB9000. As we show all the time, it's one of our favourite players to use. There's also the Trinnov Altitude 16. Moving down, we get to the big amps that run all the Priscilla stuff. So we've got two Priscilla amps, which are the DA2800s. So they are essentially 360 watt amps, or they are a 1400 watt amp when you bridge them. So one of those actually runs the subwoofer downstairs, the dual passive sub, and the other one runs the LCRs. So there's a lot of power there, pure power. The others will run, obviously, like I said, the sub and the LCRs, and the others are running the Lupgruppen amps, which are a E10 model, and they're actually 4x250 watts, and there are 4 of those, and that runs the rest of the channels in the room. And to finish it off, we've got a Thor PS10, which essentially is the power filter for the equipment rack in the room downstairs. So, yeah, look, I mean, this room was interesting, and it had a lot of challenges, and it evolved and changed a lot as well. Equipment-wise, obviously, there's a lot of equipment in here. In total, we have got 8 speakers, 9, 10, 11 on the bass line. plus the 4 subs technically with the second driver on that side. And we've got the 6 Atmos type speakers. There's a lot of speakers in here. There's a lot of power. There is a lot of volume. But the lights go out and the space feels big. And that was all because of the time that was spent on the design, putting it all together. The Trinnov works wonders, obviously, in a space like this. But ultimately, you'd think that you're in a 6 meter by 10 meter room when the lights are out. Apart from that, I guess the biggest thing is, doesn't matter what size the room is, doesn't matter how big, how small, it is imperative you get in touch with us. We do the room design. Doesn't matter how small or how big your budget. We've done some rooms that are 300 grand in a room like this. So, you know, it makes no difference. Ultimately, it's just about getting those foundations right. And that's pretty much about it. Obviously, a lot of people will ask about Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope is a great product. I'll grab that remote and I'll get out of the way. So Kaleidoscope ultimately is a window of movies that you've downloaded, that you have owned, and that are, in some instances, actually better than the disc. So for instance, I think Bohemian Rhapsody is 50 gig on the disc, but it's 80 gig when you download it. Now this isn't like Netflix, where you can ultimately say, I want to watch that and start watching it. It doesn't work that way. This is, I want to watch that, but I've got to get it the night before, because it downloads the whole movie before you can watch it. Okay? So what I might do is I might grab a movie. It talks to you about it. You can resume from where you were. You can save your favourite scenes. If you've got friends that are coming over and you just want to show them the great scenes that you like to show off. Alrighty.
It's Andrew here behind the camera. I've got to say this. I'm sitting in one of the supposed worst seats in the house with this camera, and you know, I don't normally butt in when Enzo's doing a video, but I am blown away. I'm sitting here and the surround in this room and the atmos is insane. And I don't know, I saw a look on your face as well.
I picked this track because I do remember, obviously it looks good, it's a Marvel film, always looks good.
Yeah, unfortunately we've got some flicker happening here as well.
In the image, yeah. But the actual audio content in this specific scene is he's talking, it's kind of like he's in his head, and the echo in the whole room, it's like you were there. It's a phenomenal reproduction of what the director intended, obviously.
I just forgot how
good it was.
Brilliant this room is.
No. And again, you know, 3.5 meters by 4.1 or whatever it was. It's not a big room. And there's a lot of speakers in here. And just because the room's small doesn't mean you can't build a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 room. If you've got the will and the budget and the love and passion, and some people, this was a spare room. Don't actually have a dedicated theatre space. Let's turn it into a theatre room. There's a lot of empty nesters. There's a lot of houses with an empty room. Let's use it, especially now with all the cinemas looking like a lot of content's going straight to free to air these days, or Netflix and stuff like that. So yeah, look, any questions, any comments, like, subscribe, share, and we'll take it from there.